Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I got the Chevy 350, and I'm going to be putting this cam in it. I got the cam and lifters. It's an Edelbrock match set, intake, carb, cam and lifters. And I didn't realize this until I actually opened up the box just now, but the Edelbrock uses comp cams, cam and lifters. Did not realize that. So let me just show you what I got. Just got a part of it sitting here on my toolbox. So here it is, it's a comp cams, see that? And there it is, it's a 443 lift, 253, 263 duration. So this thing should make some nice power for this car. I mean, considering it was a 352 barrel, which probably made 130 horsepower. So this should help quite a bit. But yeah, it came in this box here, Edelbrock box. And there's your lifters too. I've read through the instructions because I wanted to make sure I was doing everything the way they want you to do it. And they tell you not to pre-fill these things. I used to pre-fill them, and they tell you not to, not during cam break-in. If it was a situation where the cam was already broken in and you had the thing apart and the lifters drained down, then you could do that, but they don't recommend it. They don't recommend it because they want you to adjust the valves first. So we have to use this on the cam lobes, not on the journals, on the lobes themselves. And that helps break it in. Because once you put this thing together and we get it in a car, it has to fire up pretty quickly. And once it does, you have to bring the RPMs up to 2 to 2,500 RPM and hold it there for 30 minutes. So you gotta make sure your oil's correct, you gotta make sure that your timing's correct, you gotta make sure that your coolant is correct, everything. So this is gonna be a situation like, I know I show you where I start the cars up with no coolant in it. Can't do it on this one. This one I gotta make sure everything's good. So I'm gonna use a vac and fill to make sure I don't have any leaks, and then go ahead and start it up. But for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna install this cam. So let me start getting everything ready, and then we're gonna just shove this cam in this motor here. So let's get everything ready. So for here, what I'm gonna do, just open up the cam box like such. We're gonna drop out this cam. And of course they put a zip tie on it. Let's see. It's also got, tells you, failure to use comp cam's break-in oil, which is actually kind of amazing because I ordered oil, it came in, and it's actually comp cam's break-in oil. So, worked out perfectly. So they tell you to use that basically after the break-in period too, then you got to dump the oil pretty much right away. Let me see. I had to get this razor knife. Got that. Don't drop the cam, whatever you do. I haven't done a cam replacement, I can't tell you how many years. At least, you know, this style cam replacement where it's like a performance-oriented cam. Get a little something out of them. All right, so this end goes in first because this is the end with the distributor gear. So what we're gonna do is we have assembly lube here, but let me lay this down for a second. I'll draw there. Make sure it's in a position where it's not gonna fall and hit the floor, because if it does that, you're done for. So let me open this up. And what I'm gonna do first is, I'm gonna do the first 4 lobes. Whoops. I used to remember this stuff as being, oops, dripping it all over the place. I used to remember this stuff being like a muddy black. Sorry if I'm going off the camera. I wasn't expecting this thing to make this much of a mess. I got it all over my leg now too. This feels the same as this stuff, to be honest with you. But it's what they recommend, so that's what comes in the kit. All right, so I'm good with that. Now, let me just wipe my hand off here real quick. I'm going to reposition you guys. So you can see what I'm doing here. So quick and easy. All I'm going to do, I think you could see everything I'm going to do. Oops. See that? I actually started on the wrong end because it came out sort of quick. I wasn't paying attention. So let's try that again. I made a mess on the floor over there, but let's try this again. I'm going to put some on the distributor gear too. So just like that. And I tell you, this feels exactly, and it looks exactly like that other stuff. Okay, and again, let me wipe my hands. Now, since I don't know if it's the same stuff, I don't want to take a chance. But it feels exactly the same, so. So I'm going to stick that in there like that, and now it'll support itself, but I don't want to leave it just supporting itself. All right, so that's good. So now we can go ahead and go into the next bearing area. Nice and gentle like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lube up all the journals first. I don't know if you could see how far out I'm going. Yes, you can, okay. I got a funny feeling these two products are the same. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to research that because now I'm curious. Because they look the same, they feel the same. But like I said, I remember way back in the day when I used to do a number of cam jobs, performance cam jobs, the stuff that they gave you was like you ever see the black brake grease? I've used it in videos before because I use it at home. That's what it looked like. It looked just like that stuff. All right, let me wipe my hands off here again because I don't want to cross-contaminate the two for the break-in period. Not that it would matter all that much, but I'd rather not if I can at all avoid it. Okay. So now, let me start to install this camshaft. I'm going to have to get that bolt that I used to help remove this to help me get the last little bit in, I think. Because I'm probably not going to be able to do it. Yeah. All right. Hang on one second. Let me get a bolt so I can grab the end of that. Just hang on. Okay, so my harmonic balancer kit comes with these really nice long bolts, and you can use them. There you go. So now she's in like Flynn. And then you remember me saying too, I was curious if this thing was supposed to have a button on the end of the cam. Some cams had buttons on them. These do not. The flat tappets do not have buttons, and I will explain that later. Okay, and last but not least, at this moment, what we're going to do is we're going to take this lower crankshaft gear off. Now what I did was I just found a bolt that would fit inside the end of the crank here, because I've seen people bury the tool. I've seen people bury the tip of a tool like this into that area where the threads are, and actually it winds up screwing itself into the crankshaft, and then you wind up with a real problem. So there we go. That gear is off. I'll tell you what, this puller, and I don't know if I've explained this before, this puller here is absolutely fantastic. I bought this thing probably in the, let's see, in late 90s, I'd say. Yeah, it had to be like late 90s, like 99, 98, something in that range. I bought this thing from Snap-on, and it is the best 3-jaw puller I have ever had in my life. The problem is, I wanted to get another one, so I had one at home. This thing is ridiculously expensive. However, on a professional level, it's worth it. But if this is just something you're doing, at home, I can't see spending the money. I want to say this thing is like $500. So I know it was expensive when I bought it, but it obviously wasn't $500 at the time. But I'm pretty sure this thing's like a $500 puller now. So just something to keep in mind. But excellent puller, I will say that. I have nothing bad to say about this thing. It works unbelievably well. All right, so now we're gonna have to do the timing chain, get that in and set up, and yeah, and then we're gonna have to put the lifters in and start assembling the valve train and stuff. Okay, so we're at a point now where we're gonna put the timing chain on. It's actually the next day. So if you remember, I got a Cloy's timing chain for this. The timing chain that I gotten was boxed wrong. I think somebody had opened it and I don't know what had happened, but the one that I gotten for it, I think was for an Oldsmobile, because it was definitely the wrong one. But anyway, so here I got the right one. Now this one is adjustable. Okay, what do I mean by adjustable? I can advance the cam 2 degrees. I can set the cam straight up like it's supposed to be from factory, or I can retard the cam 2 degrees. What does that do, actually? If you advance the cam, that means the cam comes in sooner, which means you get more low-end torque, which in a boat like this, that's what you want. So I'm gonna advance the cam 2 degrees. If I set it straight up, it'll work just straight up. If I retard it 2 degrees, that means the cam will come in a little bit later, and what'll happen is you'll get more high-end horsepower. So for like, if it was a light vehicle, not a 6,000-pound boat like this thing, if it was a light vehicle, like say a Chevy Nova where it's been lightened and somebody's going to take this thing out and beat the snot out of it, and 6,500 RPM shifts and stuff like that. I should get a microphone. It's going to get noisy here. But anyway, if that was the case, then I'd retard it, and this way it comes in at a higher RPM. But with this, because it's such a big boat and we're not changing rear gears or anything else, and who knows what it has for rear gears, probably 273s or something along those lines, we want the cam to come in sooner and have more power at the bottom end. So we're going to advance the cam. Let me show you real quick what we're going to do here. So here is the cam, or the timing chain rather. And if you look, it's got 3 notches there. And each notch corresponds to advance, retard, or straight up. So the little house looking notch right there, that's advanced of 2 degrees, which aligns with that mark there where I put the black Sharpie. That one there is retard 2 degrees. Is it retard? No, that's factory. That's a factory setting right there, that one, which corresponds with that mark there, the regular dot. And then that one is retard 2 degrees, which lines up to that mark there, which is probably a U, I think. I don't even know what that's supposed to be. But so we're going to set this up like this. So now this is going to go on there. So let me get a tripod, set you up. I'm going to have a microphone too. And the crank gear, we're going to have to tap that in place. We're going to tap that in place, and then we're going to put the cam gear on with the chain. So let me get you set up, and we're going to do that. So See, I got rags and stuff on the floor because I've been picking up or cleaning up little oil drippings that keep happening from this motor. So just wanted to let you know. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before. Well, I know I have actually. I've used many different microphones over the last 3 years that I've been doing this, and I come to find that these Boya microphones work the best. No, they don't endorse me. Yes, I buy my own stuff. So just so you know, if you guys want to do stuff like this, like do videos and whatnot, and you need a microphone, so far, what I have found that works with my phone, because I always use my phone for everything, this works the best. So, and I've tried a bunch of different ones and had very mixed results, but I've been very happy with these. I actually have 3 sets. I have one at the shop, one in the car, and one at home. So anyway, so let's get on with this. So what we're gonna do is set you up right there. So now the crank gear, we're gonna install that first. Now I had already rotated the motor to where it should be on top dead center. And there we're putting the little house looking thing, because that is the advanced keyway. So we're gonna put that in that spot. And then we're gonna tap that in place. So let me find said something that I can use to tap that in place. I have some of these things, which are bearing drivers. So what I'll do, I will back you up so you can see. And I'm gonna just tap it on with a little hammer. I may have to go to a bigger hammer. Yeah, I definitely got to go to a bigger hammer because it has a tighter fit at the base. And of course, I don't have you in a good position for me to swing. And you can hear it all of a sudden change tone. Now it's fully seated. All right. Obviously, you're more than likely not going to have a bearing driver. Black pipe from Home Depot works great too, just so you know. All right, as you could see, at least I hope you could see, that black mark is facing up. Turn that on, that might help a little bit. So now there's a dot on here that you want to have facing down. So, which basically means that this hole here for the dowel, that has to be at basically 3 o'clock position. So, we're going to try to do is get this roughly in place. Just like that. Look at that. Look at that. Now, remember I said some of these things have a button? This does not use a button. What is the button? The button was like a spring-loaded, almost like a throwout bearing looking type of thing. And the spring and the bushing, whatever it was that was on the end, it depended on the application. A lot of times, sometimes it was like a plastic bushing. What it did was it held the cam into the back of the motor, kept it from walking forward. This flat tappet camshaft doesn't need that. If it was a roller camshaft, it would need that. Or it would need a plate behind the cam gear to hold the cam in place into the block. Like Ford uses that, Chrysler uses that, and I think you remember me when I took that 360 apart, it had that like a blocker plate to keep the cam in place. But because of the way the cam is ground on these, it holds it back, which I'm going to have to make a separate video and explain that to you because it's kind of weird, especially if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, which you probably don't. But anyway, so let me just show you here real quick. So there are our marks. However, I'm not happy with that. Take a good look at that. I think I'm off a tooth. So I'm going to have to rotate this over slightly, I think, and see if it'll go on in another position. Although it might be absolutely perfect. Let me try rotating the motor only, because if I go one tooth on the chain, it may really move it over quite a bit. So let me go slightly more on this. I still got to bolt it down, obviously. Let me just hold it. Nope, no, duh, went the wrong way. I'm trying to turn this thing from the back while showing you from the front. And yeah, I believe I am off a tooth because that's not going to line up correctly. Okay. So let me try to get this thing back where it's supposed to be. Let me pop this off of here real quick. See, that goes on easily right now, so it's not a big deal. But what you want is you want this to be in line with the motor. See, they even give you like kind of like a casting mark here, but you want everything to be in the center line right there. So let me do this. Let me do this. So if you're in a center line here, that crank is off a little bit. So let's move the crank. Slightly. Like it doesn't, you don't have to be 100% exact. Let's get the gear on. All right, so there we go. That's lined up now. Everything, dang it. Okay, well the compressor shouldn't be a big deal. But between the center line here, that mark there, the timing mark there, everything should be good. All right, let me pop this gear off. I'm gonna wait for the compressor to stop and then we're gonna throw this on. All right, so compressor stopped. So now let's get this in place. Was I correct before? I don't know, I could have been. See that? Oh, look at that, it slid right on. So now I'm much happier with the way that looks. You can see the mark to mark and it kind of lines up with up there. So I'm much happier with the way that looks. That looks great. Let me go find the bolts that hold the cam gear in place and then let's put that on and torque it. And then we're gonna start putting everything else back together. All right, so I have the bolts here. I had cleaned everything in the parts washer. Like I took all the bolts and I stuck them in a bin. Like I mix everything up because I can usually figure out what stuff goes where later on. But I stuck everything into a container and stuck it in a parts washer and just kept filling it up and then letting it overflow, and then I would shake the container around and stuff like that. So, okay, that's set in place. Let me go find out the torque because I never did that. And then we can torque that to the correct spec and then we can move forward. You know what's funny? I forgot to record that. I just torqued that gear. And what I did, they're at 20 now. Actually, I always zero out my torque wrench. There we go. We're at 0. So they're at 20 now. But what you didn't get to see was that I torqued them to 10. Well, first I brought the bolts down with this until I felt them stop. That meant the gear was bottomed out. So I brought each one down just to make sure the gear was stopped and the gear was in place. Then I torqued them to 10. Then I just went to 20. For some reason, I forgot to show you that. So, all right. So now what we're going to do is got to get the lifters. So let me get the lifters, and we're going to drop the lifters in place. So hang on 1 second while I grab that, and I can set you up to watch that part of it. So before I begin, I was talking about this versus this, and I can't find anything that says that they're the same. They seem to be the same, but I'm obviously not going to use this over this because they tell me to use this on assembly. So I'm going to use this, but I got to do some more research. If any of you know if they're the same thing, because they seem like they are the same thing, but like I said, I don't know. I'm not a scientist or a lubricity expert or anything like that. So I'm going to use this. This I'm just going to use for like the rocker arms and stuff like that. So with that being said, let me grab, where did I put the lifters? Okay. Just going to grab the lifters. And they tell you don't pre-oil these. Because back in the day, you used to pre-oil a lifter. You would drop them in a container and let them soak, but they tell you not to. So I don't know if you could see the swirl finish to that. I don't know if that has something to do with the way it's supposed to break in. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of this on here, just like that. Nice and liberal amount. And we're going to drop the lifter in place. Now, if you saw, what I'm trying to do too is I'm trying to get some over the edge here, because when it goes over the edge like that, when I drop it down in the hole there, it'll help push that stuff up through the sides of the lifter to keep it lubed up. Now also, I did not use brake clean or anything like that in here to clean this thing. Basically just wiped everything out, vacuumed it out. So I don't have to worry about the surface being completely dry, because it shouldn't be. I don't know if you saw that. So putting that on there. And they also claim that this lube is good if you're assembling a motor and it's going to be stored. All right, let's get these done. May as well show you all of them. I always wonder if I'm like catching everything that I'm supposed to be catching on the video. Sometimes I just don't know because I'm not looking at the camera when I'm doing this. So I often wonder. Now this engine will not have like a lope or anything like that, like, you know, like how a race car would sound. It shouldn't be anything like that, but you know, it should have, you know, a little bit of a muscle car sound to it. And that's what we're looking for here. No chop chop on this. Some of you may be asking, what the heck is chop chop? That's when you hear like a race car engine going while it's idling. It kind of sounds like, you know, how Harleys sound, except these sound cool when they have that. Tell you what, they got it down to a science where they give you just enough of this stuff to get through your job with nothing left over. Now, hopefully these are good lifters. I mean, they're a match set, because I know during COVID and everything else, there was a lot of problems with lifter issues. Lots of videos about lifter failures on these type of motors. You know, people building these motors with flat tappet cams, and then the lifters would fail in a short period of time. And the problem, though, is because, you know, it's a friction surface. It's just basically there's nothing there except friction, because it's a metal-metal contact. The problem is when they wipe out the lifter and the cam lobe, that's metal. So metal winds up going throughout the entire engine. So there's always a chance of doing plenty of damage elsewhere in the motor. I've seen plenty of times where a cam gets wiped out and the motor's still fine, but you have a fresh motor and now a cam wiped out, you know, you're not going to be a happy camper about it. Not only do you got to do the cam again, but now you might have metal floating throughout the system. Although it's not like it's not like chunks of metal, but it's very, very fine metal that got wiped off. You know, as if you sanded it off. If you put a little more on one as opposed to the other, it's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, last one. All right. So we'll drop that in place. And that's good to go. Just going to put this right there for right now, in case I need it for anything. And let me see if I can actually find a rag that I can wipe my hands on. All right, so far, not too difficult. So the next step is going to be the rocker arms and push rods and stuff. So, but that's going to have to be tomorrow. All right. Okay, apparently I actually have a little more time than I anticipated. I still got like another 20 minutes before I have to go on to something else. But now I'm going to just take the assembly lube, which appears exactly the same as the other stuff, and I'm going to put a drop in the tip of the lifter. And a tip meaning the tip where the push rod lays in. Okay. So now we're going to take the push rods and we have to install this, and I'm not going to bother cleaning these down. I'm just taking them and wiping them down. So, and then lay them in place, and they're all in order in the boxy thing that I made up. So we're going to put these all in. So just wipe off any residual. Anyone may be wondering what that wear mark is. It's right here where it passes through the cylinder head. Over time, while it's running, it may actually contact the sides. It's a pretty tight fit, so it may contact the sides a little bit, which is not a big deal. So, but that's the reason for that mark, in case you're wondering. Now, I did inspect all the push rods. What you want to do is you want to look at the tip here on both ends and make sure they're not like flattened out. You'll know if they're worn out. You'll see one that like just looks different here, and then you know it's worn out, and you don't want to use those. If you have one that's worn like that, up here where it hits the rocker arm, you're gonna have to replace the rocker arm too. All right, that's all for that side. Now I actually have to leave early for a doctor's appointment, another one, and tomorrow I have another one, and Meg has an appointment tomorrow also, so I took the day off, so I actually will not be back on this tomorrow. But since tomorrow's Thursday, I like to go to the shooting range and try out my pistols. It's a fun little sport, little pastime for the wife and I. Do enjoy it. That's a hobby that gets expensive too, just like cars. So I tell you what, ammunition, not cheap. All right. So there's all the push rods. So now, what we're gonna do is let me move this box to here. So now we're gonna take out these rocker arms, and as you see, they're pretty darn clean. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a drop of the assembly lube on the push rods. So let me do that. Put a drop. Put a drop there, put a drop inside the rocker, drop the rocker in place, then I'm going to put a drop at the base of this, of the rocker itself, just move it around. And of course, this one don't want to come out. There it is. And also, look at where the push rod goes in on your rocker to make sure that you don't have any odd wear that you need to worry about. Like right inside here, just look at it, just make sure everything looks good. I've actually seen push rods punch through rocker arms. All right. Let me get all of these done. No reason for you to watch all of this. Let me get these all in place, and once everything's in place, then we're going to learn how to adjust the valves. Now, one thing I neglected to show you was, because I didn't do it, was putting that assembly lube on the tip of the rocker arm also. So I put a dab on the tip of the valve and on the tip of the rocker arm itself. This way, the ends of it are all lubed up. But yeah, so that's pretty much this side. And then we got to do the other side. What I will probably do is I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, get the other side done. But like I said, the other side's going to have to be another day because I got to get out of here. All right. I think that's going to end this video for right now. But we'll continue this Friday morning. Actually, that ends that video right there. I still got to make a separate video on adjusting the valves. Just got caught up in other things, so got the other side assembled. I'm obviously at home right now, and I am editing stuff, so I happen to realize that, hey, this video should probably go up at this point. So the valve adjustment will be a completely separate video on how to do that and do it the right way. And yeah, so that'll probably be in the next couple of days. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you got something out of that video. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, have a great day. Keep wrenching.